Before talking about the effects, and they're bad, let me just say that I think that was the dumbest, most economically illiterate speech I have heard in my life. And I've heard a lot of bad ones. It was filled with lies and distortions, and I need to back that up. For example, the idea that the European Union has a 39% tariff rate on the United States. The weighted average of EU tariffs on the US is 1%. Japan, which supposedly, according to Trump, had a 46% tariff rate, the weighted average of tariffs on US products is 3.2%. Marcus Peterson, who was excellent, highlighted the fact that other countries which actually have high tariff rates, like Turkey, all of a sudden get favored treatment from Trump, at least relatively favored, by paying only 10%. What you had was someone who is the President of the United States speaking almost absolute nonsense. And the biggest nonsense of all was the idea that tariffs can replace income taxes and that they will lead to economic growth. They won't. Now, how bad is this? You have varying rates across the board. You have 20% on the EU. You have 34% on China, even higher on some countries. Lowest rates are still only going to be, are still at least 10%. The Aston Business School modeled this, and earlier this week came out and said, in the event of a 20 to 25% US tariff, and we're roughly talking about that across the board, if the EU and other countries retaliate, the loss to the global economy will be 1.4 trillion. That is trillion with a T, dollars.
That's a lot.
To the global economy. The tax burden, effective tax burden on the US taxpayers will be $6 trillion with a T. This is one of the most, in addition to being economically illiterate speeches, it is accompanied by one of the most economically damaging actions that have been taken since the last round of high tariffs, which was in the 1930s, which helped lead to the Great Depression.
Markets are crashing because China retaliates US tariffs. So China is also imposing high tariff as well. So how bad could it get? And how could this situation end up? There are a few scenarios. We're going to talk about it today. And also, the biggest mistake President Trump made, what is that? You're going to find out in a short time. So S&P 500 down 5.97% on Friday, April 4. Over the past 5 days, it's down 8.21%. Year to date, 13.54%. Absolutely in correction, approaching bear market. Within 1 month, it dropped 13.15%. That's a lot. And Nasdaq, 5.82% within 1 day. That's very crazy. We never had this for like in the past 4 years. And 5 days, 2 days over 5%. So 5 days, 8.55%. Year to date, 19.15%. So Nasdaq is absolutely in a bear market. Dow Jones 5.5%. Usually Dow Jones is up. Now it's so horrible that it's also down 5.5%. 5 days 7.41%. 1 month 10.91%. Year to date 9.62%. Yeah. So definitely in correction approaching bear market. So what is the biggest mistake in the 95 years? So this tariff policy, Trump tariff, is the biggest policy mistake in 95 years. So Wharton School of Business, Jeremy Siegel talked about it. And Economist Journal said this is a massive mistake. You see, and even Fox Business, who favors Republicans and Trump, this is the most stunning political mistake I have seen. So many scholars and businessmen and also economists are talking about it. And even Republicans cause Trump tariffs risky, express the stock market concern. And why did Donald Trump do what he did? Because he thought US has better cuts than everybody else. No, actually no. Now, because if US tariff only China. They're gonna get support from EU and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and everybody else. Now US tariff everybody. So US becomes the common enemy of the world. Yeah, they may not say it, but US is no longer dependable anymore. And plus, China and the other countries, EU have very good cuts as well. So China strike back with own tariffs and export cuts. 34% tariff. So China already have 15%, 10 to 15%. So now 34% will be additional. In total will be 49%. So 50%. Goods and export cuts or rare earths. US needs rare earths. The Americans, EV companies, lithium batteries, they use rare earths to manufacture all the chips, batteries. China is the main exporter, probably 80% of the world supplies. So China is restricting, so export curbs, so that's gonna hurt American businesses really bad. And also impose restriction on about 30 US organizations, mostly in defense-related industry. Already 2 dozen US companies punished over Trump's tariff. So about 54 companies. So you see, when the two countries at war, the businesses, the citizens suffer, right? So America is gonna pay high import tax for that every time they buy anything. At least 10% more expensive than 3 months ago, 4 months ago. So it's gonna be horrible. And 34%, yeah. Most importantly, agricultural farmers will be in trouble. American farmers will be in trouble because if 49%, 50% so expensive, nobody's gonna buy American products. Soybeans, poultry, bone meal from 3 US farms. Yeah, suspension on imports. You see, just cut out. No import from this company. China biggest imports from US are soybeans, oilseeds, and grains. So 13.4 billion in 2024, as well as 14.7 billion of various fuels and that 15.3 billion for electrical machinery. So, yeah, it's not possible with 34% tariff. It will not be possible for US agricultural products to enter China. It's an opportunity for other exporters like Brazil and Australia to expand their market share. Congratulations, Trump. You have done a great job. Took down stock markets into bear market within a few days, within 2 months of entering the office. Yeah, you see China, because after Trump made a deal with China before, so after he signed a deal, yeah, import from US went up, right? Also, China trade surplus went up as well. It's just because Americans became richer after COVID, right? So Chinese economy tanked. American economies prosper. So Americans consumer bought more products from China. Everybody. So that's why the trade surplus became so huge. So Trump doesn't like it, right? It's very simple. If you don't like to have a trade deficit, don't become rich. If you are rich, you're gonna buy more products than poor people, right? Poor countries or normal countries. Just don't become rich countries. That's all, right? So most important, it's very important to focus on AI, high technology, manufacturing, low margin business. Who cares, right? If you hire a cleaner and you pay money to cleaner, will you think that she made so much money from me by cleaning their house? So you know what? I'm also set up my own cleaning company. Will you do that? No, of course not. You are buying the time from cleaner, right? Her time is worth only maybe $50 or $30 an hour. And you make so much more money an hour. So why would you compete with them? The same way, US made so much more money. So why would you compete with no manufacturing, like manufacturing of clothing, shoes? These are low margin products. We should be focusing on high margin products like chips, AI, right? So Now China retaliates, hey, no more TikTok deal because of tariff, no matter what. So China's also have the cards, rare earths, material, and they are the third largest consumer after Canada and Mexico. And yeah, they have many cards as well. And China's retaliatory tariffs will encourage and give other countries cover to retaliate. Small countries like Vietnam, yes, definitely they will give concessions because they could not compete with US. But other big countries like China and EU, no, they're not gonna give in. Right? They don't want to lose face, especially China. They don't want to lose face at all. So that would be really horrible for their domestic policy, domestic politics. So no, they're not gonna give in. So how bad could it be, and how could it end? So this Harvard's Jason Furman said, Trump tariffs are so crazy, I don't think we will have them 2 months from now. So let's listen to what he said. Yeah, he gave great points.
It's going to impose additional tariffs on U.S. goods from April 10th at a rate of 34%. Joining us now, former Council of Economic Advisors chair under President Obama, Jason Furman. He's a professor at Harvard Kennedy School of Government. During the Siegel interview, were you in a position to hear?
Yeah, I heard a bunch of what he said.
Okay. You agree with most of what where's your recession odds at this point? Above 50%?
No, I'm still sort of 30, 40%. And the issue is we have just so much uncertainty now. Record amounts. How much does this matter? How do these tariffs get resolved? I think they're just so crazy that we're not going to have them 2 months from now. On the other hand, I didn't think we'd have them now. So who knows?
Which ones, Biden kept a lot. Which ones would you keep now? Do you think that we should be using tariffs to try to change China's behavior in terms of both trade and just in general, in the way that that country is managing its affairs in the world?
So first of all, most of these tariffs are on countries other than China, although quite a lot of them are on China. So no, I don't think we should be using tariffs
on China.
No, I don't think we should be using tariffs on Canada, Mexico, the EU, the UK, and every other country in the world. That hurts what we want to accomplish with China. Right. Joe, if you want to focus on China,
it drives
focus
China
on
into
China.
The hands of
it drives them all closer to China.
Should we have done that trade deal with China in the first Trump term, do you think?
We should have, I mean, getting them to buy our stuff, that's not the big issue with China. The big issue is their structural policies, the way they treat our imports, and a set of geopolitical concerns.
Right.
But I think the last administration actually got the rhetoric on China right. I mean, I disagreed with a lot of their economic, especially international economic policy, but small yard, high fence, focus the China issue on where it matters for national security.
Could we sell more cars in Europe? I mean, would you do anything to the EU in terms of the way things work?
What I would do with the EU is revive the free trade agreement that was being negotiated with them a decade ago. Get tariffs down, get non-tariff barriers down. We were close to getting reciprocity, true reciprocity, at a lower level, and that's called a trade agreement. That's not called this. By the way, back to national security, probably the dumbest national security thing in all of this was the tariff on Taiwan. I mean, they're in an existential struggle. At least they got called a country by Donald Trump. But other than that, you're going to tariff Taiwan as part of your China strategy?
What do you think the end game is on this? And what do you think the action? We've had fentanyl was a goal. We've had bringing jobs back to the manufacturing sector. We've had things need to be made in America. We're going to do that. I don't know how long that takes. That takes
revenue to cut taxes other places.
To cut taxes other places, and changing the behavior of some of the bad actors. I mean, we've heard a lot of them. What do you think truly? How long do they last? When would you declare victory if you were this administration?
I think Donald Trump has a lot of motivations. Many of those motivations contradict each other.
Go back 30 years.
But the number one motivation is that the United States runs a trade deficit, that we buy more from the rest of the world than we sell more to the rest of the world. I think that's largely a function of American strength.
Right.
I don't think these tariffs are going to help. And so in that sense, we're still going to have a trade deficit 6 months from now. We're still going to have one 3 years from now. I think some of these go away because they're just so crazy. But I don't think the 10% is going away.
Go away, why? But he doesn't think they're crazy. You think it's a reflection of seeing what the market reaction is, and then all of a sudden saying, okay, I'm going to lose my support, or Republicans in Congress step up and say you're not going to be allowed to do this?
I mean, there's a couple different forces. One is that he gets some concessions, and I think he will from some countries, like Vietnam, for example. And he has from free places. So one is he gets concessions and declares victory. A second is that the market and his own supporters. A third is that Congress takes back the power of tariffs. A fourth is that a bunch of this is legally dubious. I mean, this is calling something an emergency that has been a state that we've been in for decades. And this isn't an obvious use of presidential emergency power.
Can I just point out real quickly?
Actually, that there are 4 situations that could end this situation. And number 1 is basically, he probably get concessions. And number 2 is the markets and supporters, he start saying, oh, this is bad, you stop doing that. The third will be Congress takes back the power of tariff. The fourth will be, hey, you know what, this is illegal, dubious, right? Abuse of presidential power, stuff like that. The court's gonna step in. So what do you think? What could happen? Comment down below. And how bad could it be? Are you investing in stock markets? So this may be the best time to invest in stock market when there's a fear and lots of fear. So if you want to get started, go to Master with Stock Option Crypto channel. Go to playlist. Start learning about stock investing, call option, put option, advanced option, cryptocurrency, and go invest in so many other videos as well. The link's gonna be in the description, comment down below if you want to open a stock trading account or option trading account. Share, subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Bye.